So, unfortunately, I don't have my lights in here. How's everybody doing today? I'm gonna go over some things today that I haven't talked about before. As you guys know, I've been kind of MIA for a little while now. I've been just a little bit missing in action because I have been setting up to sue these people. And you know, a lot of people, what they don't understand is that you know, you can't ever really let anybody. What's going on, Andy? How you doing? So it's really hard for me to answer or respond to people with questions and stuff like that as I go over this. But today I'm going to teach you guys, you know, what you're looking at here. What we're going to look at here today is we're going to take a look at tort law in federal court. And tort law has several different factors in criminal law, in property law. Tort law has a lot of different aspects to it. However, tort law in the form of what I've been studying and what I'm doing is under the form of defamation. And these are books from the California State Bar exam that I'm actually helping a friend of mine study for. If you guys would do me a favor, just reach up there and hit your like button real quick. Just reach up there and just tap that like button. It doesn't cost you anything at all. It's totally free. And then it'll bring a couple more people in this room. I'm going to raise this stand up a little bit. Sorry for the lighting being so poor. I don't have my system here, obviously, as you can see. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm doing here. I don't even know if I'll put this video out publicly. Maybe this is just more for me to talk through it because I've been so ingrained in learning tort law. Because without tort law, so there's a couple steps here that I want to just go over with you guys together and kind of talk out loud about exactly what tort law is and what it is not. And the reason why tort law is so important when you talk about IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, what's really important about understanding tort law is you have to first verify and understand the elements of tort law. I don't want to talk over anybody's head. I don't want to talk below anybody's feet, but I want to really articulate well to you guys exactly what tort law is so that you guys can kind of understand. You know, it sucks that the mission that I was on was slightly derailed here for a moment. But the good news, the good part is that I have come up with a plan to, to quite literally. Hey, how you doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate it. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody's having an absolutely wonderful holiday season. I've had a very, very bumpy road here for the past few weeks. And so I know that I've been gone and I just want to check in with everybody and say hello. And I may even show the video that I'm going to be putting out onto a website tomorrow. Hey, good to see you, T. Roy. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. So I may show it. I may not. I mean, how many people in the room? There's 8 people in the room. So maybe I'll just show it to you guys right now so you guys can kind of see exactly what I've been working on here. So you guys can kind of have an insight to what I'm doing. You know, a lot of people, they don't understand that if someone hits you and they do it wrong or they break the law in hitting you, you have to hit them back. And if you don't, other people will hit you. As you guys can see, if you take a look at what's going on, they have created an online cult on TikTok called The Fold Unleashed. You guys can look it up. If you go to TikTok and you put hashtag The Fold, how you guys doing? Thank you for coming by. If you guys go by, you can take a look at The Fold Unleashed on TikTok. And so what I've been doing is I've just been researching tort law for the past month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, so that I can understand exactly what my legal remedies are. And so what I'm doing is I'm suing these people in federal district court. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sue them in California. No. As a matter of fact, I've pinpointed 2 different district courts where one is a Reagan appointee and one is a Trump appointee. And as a matter of fact, the Reagan appointee is now under senior status. So I may try to get that judge to hear my case. It just depends on when I file in that district court exactly who's going to pick up the case. And there's specific states across America that have different judges. So just so you know, the Supreme Court has appointed justices, right? If you can call those people justices, right? Which is really hard to do when you understand the history of what the Supreme Court has been. However, maybe you didn't know, and maybe you did, but federal judges are also appointed. Federal judges are also appointed. And so when you know that information, then what you can do is you can look up. I don't want to tip my hand as to which court I'm filing in, but I'm pretty. So these are the federal judges in the different districts, and you can take a look, and you can just go and look at all the current judges who've been appointed federally. And what you want to do is you want to research the judge himself. You don't want to file a defamation lawsuit, number one, in any liberal state. You don't want to do that. You do not want to file a defamation lawsuit in a liberal state. You want to file a defamation lawsuit in a conservative state. And furthermore, you want to make sure you don't want to get an Obama appointed federal judge. You want to get a Trump or a Reagan appointed federal judge. And it goes down here, and there's so I don't want to, am I showing which district I'm looking at here? I really don't want to tip my hand as to where I'm filing this defamation lawsuit. There is a young woman who knows where I'm filing the defamation lawsuits at. But so now I wanted to go over a couple things, and I got my marker and whiteboard out because I wanted to go over some things that I have been talking about for the last couple weeks, which is the social contract. And the social contract and me filing a defamation lawsuit against 7 people. I'm suing 7 different people. And I'm going to represent myself because what I've done over the past 6 weeks is I've become an expert on tort law. This is the California State Bar exam. And so what I've become an expert on is understanding the elements of tort law. And if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. And it's really easy to find. It's really easy to find if you know what you're looking for online. Now that I'm kind of guiding you and showing you exactly where to look. You want to look up tort law defamation and then look up the 5 elements of tort law. What these folks have done is they've done the exact specific legal definition of defamation, and some of them have done both libel and slander. So you can't let anybody hit you and not hit them back. You know, if you believe that especially in politics, if you believe in politics especially that you can be hit in politics, and believe me, as you know, Overturn Terry, I have deep political aspirations to fundamentally change the laws of the land that were established by an unelected Supreme Court. So the only way we're going to get to Section 230, if you don't know what Section 230 is, I want to make sure that I say it really, really clearly for you guys. There's Section 230 of the Social Media Code. You can look that up. And what that does is it gives YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it gives all of them immunity from defamation. So, in other words, when you sign up for a social media website, whether it be Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, when you check off on those terms of service, you are checking off your rights to sue them for defamation. And YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they are all publishers who are editing your work. So if your video's ever been taken down or anything you've done has ever been removed or edited from one of these social media companies, the reason why you can't sue them is because of Section 230 of the Social Media Code here. And I have the exact definition of it here. It is, and then what you want to do, especially, so here's the biggest thing with lawyers or with judges. When you go before a federal judge in district court, our entire system of law is based on stare decisis. everything that judges look at and consider, especially at the federal district court level. They look at one thing, stare decisis. That's what they understand. And so what I've become is an expert in case law, in understanding the case precedents, or what you call stare decisis, in defamation lawsuits. And there are several, Bryn versus Dean, Churchill, and I actually don't want to tip my hand to too many people because anyway, I don't want to get too off track here. But what I'm trying to say is that when you have political aspirations and you want to create change constitutionally, if someone ever hits you politically, you have to hit them back. Because if you don't, the lie becomes the truth. And that's why I'm suing 7 people in federal district court. And the most ironic and hilarious part about what I personally have been through over the past month and a half is how many people will come online and they will say to me things like, you don't have a case, or, oh, that's so funny, or it's just the amount of ignorance in our world is so staggering to me that I just can't even wrap my head around it, that people who don't know any information about the law, who don't pick up a book and don't read the book, who don't chapter it out so they understand tort law to amazing levels of comprehension, and then they'll chime in and say things to me like, you don't have a case. So I obviously, what I do when I read books to people and I read stuff out loud is I will chapter it out for you guys so that you can try to follow along a little bit with some of the logic and understanding. And this is going to go into, again, the social contract. It's so crazy to me that the knowledge that I've learned over the past 20 years of my life and understanding the social contract has such deep ramifications in every single aspect of our lives. If you don't understand Thomas Hobbes' social contract, and if you don't understand Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, well then, my friend, you probably don't understand the laws and the rules of America. And you could end up being very, very frustrated, especially with the criminal justice system, if you don't understand the social contract. That's why for the past couple weeks, I've been making videos about the social contract so that you would understand the depths of importance that the social contract carries with us today. And so I put stare decisis up here because now let's get to the basic understanding of the social contract. The basic understanding of the social contract is going to start with Hobbes. And if you haven't read Hobbes, listen, reading Leviathan is one hell of a read. If you can read the book Leviathan and then come back and you can explain Leviathan, my friend, you are my master. I'm ready to learn from you. I mean, Leviathan is thick. You have to truly get into it because Hobbes has a very, very famous saying. It's bellum omnium contra omnis, right? And what that means is the war of all against all. So now how does me teaching you guys about Hobbes and the social contract directly tie to the defamation case that I'm filing against 7 people? Why is that so important? How does the social contract tie into me suing 7 people who created defamation and slander and libel against me? How do those things connect? And why would I say that Hobbes' 1651 book of Leviathan, how does that tie to my 2022 case of defamation? And why does it matter? How come it matters, right? Because Hobbes came up with this very basic theory, and I can write it out for you. So it's bellum omnium contra omnis. And you probably won't be able to read my writing, but bellum omnium contra omnis. And that phrase that Hobbes came up with, that is the war of all against all. That if free men, and forgive me, women, free persons, I guess you would say in today's world, if free people do not bond together to live under a series of laws under the social contract, then what will happen is when one person wrongs another person, they will go to the ends of the depths of humanity. I guess that's the best way to say it without, saying one person will kill another person without the social contract. Because when you violate another person and that person is hurt or injured, whether that be from their reputation, like mine's been hurt, or financially, as I've been hurt, or what if someone hurts one of your children? What if someone hits one of your kids in their car? And then you say, hey, that person hit my kid in the car. And so what are you going to do? Bellium omnium contra omnis. You are going to kill that person because they have hurt your child. Now, Hobbes' basic theory is that men, I hate to sound sexist in any way because I'm not, but what Hobbes' basic understanding of the social contract is that men will go to the ends of earth to express their natural rights. And we go back to John Locke's theory of natural law. And the natural law theory says what? That I have the right to life, liberty, and property. And if you in any way, shape, or form deny me my right to life, liberty, or property, and that could be from defamation, well, then I might just go after your life, right? But when we live under a social contract, when free men contract together to agree to live under a set of laws, then instead of going to the worst of humanity and going to life and death situations because you've been wronged or cheated or you feel as though you've been slighted, instead, we only have the rule of law to fall back on. We only have. So when I talk about this in great detail. I always talk about this. It's called ROL, rule of law. We all agree to live under the rule of law, right? So I keep on getting this line. And I think that 5 of the people I'm suing are black and 2 of the people I'm suing are white. And so I always hear this line where they'll go, you're suing a black man. You're suing a black woman. Yes, I am. And why am I? Because I'm living under the rule of law. I'm living under the social contract. I have been wronged. And instead of taking matters into my own hands, as John Locke would say, you have the natural right of life to take matters into your own hand. You are a free person. You are a free individual. So you can do whatever you want. You can't. You can't. And I posted a video the other day and I said, is it murder or is it self-defense? And then YouTube put a censor on it because one guy shoots another guy. Even though there's no blood and gore, he still shoots another guy. Because as soon as you go outside of Hobbes' general basic understanding of the social contract, we then enter anarchy. And if you're for anarchy, well, you've never been to war because anarchy sucks. Living outside of the rule of law sucks. It is absolutely the worst. Because once we go outside of the rule of law and we get into some gangster shit, then pretty soon you don't know who's on your team. Everybody's free to do whatever they want. So I want to correlate with you guys how Hobbes' social contract, Jean-Jacques Rousseau's perfection of the social contract, or as perfect as it could be, I guess you would say, what you understand is that the reason why I'm suing people is because I'm living under the social contract. I'm living under the rule of law, you see? Because otherwise, if I don't live under the rule of law and I just want to do what my natural rights are, what did Hobbes say about man? What was Hobbes' very famous saying about mankind? What did he say? Hobbes said that man is a brutish, murderous, rapist individual, that man is. And that's when you get into the Bible and you get into, I believe it's the 3rd or 4th commandment, thou shalt not covet. And why shouldn't you covet? Well, because if you covet plus natural law and you're free, you'll just take what you want. And what do we see when we see coveting on social media today? You'll see it, and I've seen it dozens of times. Someone will put a post up and they'll say, my last 24 hours have been better than your last 24 hours, and take a look. Because they want you to covet them. Now, that's fine and dandy in 2022, but if you were coveted back in 1850, you might just get yourself killed back in 1750 because there was no established rule of law before 1776 where we had a Bill of Rights, you see? So Hobbes' social contract directly ties to tort law. Hobbes' social contract, this directly ties to tort law. Directly. Because without Hobbes' social contract, there's no need for tort law. I'll handle this myself. But instead of that, instead of handling it myself and using natural law to handle my problems, I'm going to use the rule of law. Now, I'm taking these people to civil court in district court. It's actually federal district court outside of California in another state, because tort law says that you can sue any person you want in any district in America as long as you were affected negatively within that district. You see? So when you get to a social media platform and you're in all 50 states or even internationally, then I can sue these folks in any district I want all across America. There's no limit. And where do I want to sue them? In a conservative state with a Republican appointed judge. And so currently right now, I've actually got it down to 2 different judges that I want to hear my case, one of the 2. And so now what I'm doing is I'm reading the cases that they've previously decided on, because when you get into court, remember, just so you guys know, lawyers, if you're a lawyer, right, and you guys have seen me, if you haven't seen me on TikTok, I've had lots of lawyers come on and I just shellac them. Because lawyers, the profession of being a lawyer, it's a mercenary job. People, like, I'm going to pass the California State Bar, but only because I want to then be able to practice law in Texas and Florida. And once I pass the California State Bar, even though they have restrictions to passing the bar in Florida and Texas, once I pass the California State Bar, then I have a footing to file to take the Florida State Bar and to take the Texas State Bar. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I just saying? I was just saying, so tort law, Hobbes, spread the word. Yeah, overturn Terry versus. How you doing, T. Roy? Good to see you. Good to see you. And I just wanted to come back on for a little while because I've been on. It's amazing to me how many people in our country are simple followers. It is absolutely dazzling to me how many people are just followers who have no desire or intention or motivation or a mission. I ask this people all the time, and I guess I'm going to ask you too. And so I mean, look, you're in the room. Hopefully you're watching this by yourself or you're sitting next to a friend, whatever. But let me ask you a question now that I've been asking people all week, because I just get trolled so many times. I go on my social media account, someone's calling me a racist. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, right? But so what's your purpose? What's your mission in this life? When you die, what goes on your headstone? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Look, you may have 4 children and a wife, and that's your mission in life. And you know what? Bless you. I'm super happy that that's what you're doing with your life. I don't happen to have a wife, and I don't happen to have any children. So for me, my mission in life is to overturn Terry versus Ohio. That's my purpose. That's my mission. That's my cause. And what social media has done to us, it's what it's done to us, and especially the social media platforms, what it's done to us is created a system where if you don't have any purpose in life and you don't have a mission in life, well, then your mission in life is to spread hatred and divisiveness. There are so many people who I see make videos about me, calling me a racist and all kinds of things, and they have no idea what I stand for, what I believe in, what my mission is, why I'm doing it. They have no idea. And so then what I've done is I've turned and I've faced these bullies, the people who are trolls online. And what I'm doing now is I go take a look at their profile, and what I realize is these people have no purpose. They have no drive. They listen to T. Roy. Listen to T. Roy, right? T. Roy has seen the light. He knows that if we don't overturn Terry, that our children and our grandchildren could live in we already are there. We could even live in a worse absolute police state, prison state in America. And we're seeing that now with the global problem going on, right? Good to see you, T. Roy, right? What are we seeing? We're seeing now governments around the world, Australia, which this There's a woman from Australia who I think is just spectacular. But Australia, we are watching the degradation of humanity happen right before us. And the reason why you and I are fortunate in America, the reason why you and I are fortunate is because of Thomas Hobbes. Because we do have the rule of law. And what is the number one principle of the rule of law? What is it? Can anybody type it right there? Can anybody tell me what the number one principle of the rule of law is? Let me grab a napkin. What is the number one principle of the rule of law? Can anybody tell me what the number one principle of the rule of law is? I just want to see if anybody truly understands or has been paying attention to anything I've been teaching. And it's not that you haven't. I'm not saying that. Hey, how you doing, New York City? So what's the founding? Not the number one, but what is the most important? Very, very good, Brian. All men are created equal. Now that's the Constitution. That's the Constitution. And also all men are created equal. That was what John Brown called the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule. The Golden Rule that all men are created equal. And John Brown was willing to fight and die for that because he had his best friend was Frederick Douglass, and he was willing to fight and die for Frederick Douglass to be free. Frederick Douglass to be free. So, but what's the most important principle when we're talking about rule of law? What's liberty? Right up there. So liberty's right up there. But when we're gonna invoke the rule of law, what specific actions are so imperative for the rule of law to carry out? Due process of law. That's the most important thing. So now when I say due process of law, and we can take that into tort law, where I'm suing these people for defamation, or we can take that into criminal law, or we can take that into contract law, or we can take that into property law. Due process of the law does what for you? What does it do for you? Due process for me takes me away from natural law and the unhealthy feelings I think in my mind. I go back to rule of law and due process of law. And what due process of law states out that it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is due process of law. So let's just make it a criminal case. Let's say, for example, that you get arrested. Let's say you get arrested. For whatever reason, the cop walks up to you and says you're under arrest, right? So now what's going to happen? When you get arrested, and the first time you get put in handcuffs, which I've been arrested 20 times, right? No criminal record. 20 times I've been arrested, put in handcuffs, and taken to a dungeon. What's the most important process? Is due process of law. So what's the first one? The first one is I'm supposed to be free of cruel and unusual punishment no matter what happens to me. I'm not supposed to be treated unfairly. That's the 8th Amendment. I'm not supposed to have cruel and unusual punishment done to me, right? And then what's the second one? I have a right to be arraigned within 72 hours of my arrest. I have the right to contact an attorney. And if I cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for me. So this is due process of the law. And due process of the law is going to protect you in almost every single situation if you know it. If you know due process of the law. So, by the way, by the 10th time I got arrested, just because I'm not going to back down to a guy just because he's wearing a clown costume. By about the 10th time I got arrested, pretty soon I knew exactly what the process was. I knew exactly what was going to happen to me first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Now, just so you know, and let me be clear about this, and let me warn you, right? The 1980 case of Johnson versus Glick, you lose all your rights when you go to jail. Just remember that. So if you go to a dungeon, don't count on due process of the law to save you. It's not going to. If you get arrested and taken to the dungeon, you should become a mute. You should become a mute, which, by the way, this is kind of a little side story here. Every time I've ever been arrested and taken to the dungeon, right, which it's been a few years, but every time I've been arrested and taken to the dungeon, within 24 hours, because I become a mute, I stop talking to people, become very calm, no speaking, no reason to talk. Within 24 hours of every time I've been put in jail, the guards there immediately make me a trustee, because I'm not going to cause any problems in here. I'm not going to cause any waves. I'm not going to join a gang in here because you're immediately indoctrinated into a gang. And if you guys have heard some of my lectures, you've heard me talk about how I was indoctrinated into a gang in 2002 upon entering jail because I didn't understand the due process of what was going to happen to me. I didn't know what step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 was. And so that kind of brings us full circle into understanding tort law. So when you get into tort law, when you sue someone for defamation, that's a district federal court. Because I'm suing these people, I mean, for 7 figures. I'm suing Talib Kweli for $10 million for lifetime damages against my reputation and 20 years of studying the law, that now a large sect of people, because people would consider him a right-thinking person, and this is going to be Bryn versus Dean, B-Y-R-N-E versus D-E-A-N-E, a 1937 case. You can look that up. And what that's going to talk about in tort law is that if you have claimed to be an expert in a field, it just tickles me pink, right? And what has Talib the dweeb, what has he done? He's claimed to be an expert in sniffing out racists. So that means that because he's taken the position that he's an expert in sniffing out and finding racists, along with Jolly Ginger, which Jolly Ginger's really screwed. You're really screwed, brother. You're in big trouble. You know why? Because I found the video on your backup account that completely and utterly counters every lie you made up about me. You're fucked, dude. You really are fucked. I mean, I don't think Jolly has any money, but I am going to sue him. And then what I'm going to do, just so you know, even after you sue someone in federal court and you win, what you then have to do, and here's a real big part of what I've been studying, right, is after I win the lawsuits, I then have to take the judgment and I have to file that judgment with every single financial institution that person could possibly bank with to garnish their wages. You see? So if you don't, so this is, and here's the scariest part for people, right? And I was kind of going off on lawyers a moment ago, and I'm going to come back around on that, right? So because I understand due process to levels that other people simply don't understand due process. Now, where I don't understand due process is property law. I understand my natural rights of property law. I understand the basic tenets of property law. Do I understand the due process of property law? Not really, not really. I would have to study it like a mug, right? But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm studying tort law. And tort law also exists in property law. It also exists in criminal law. And then the 1962 Model Penal Code is going to have a gigantic effect on tort law as we move forward into criminal procedures. And so here's what happens to you, right? You get arrested, right? You get arrested. And the first thing that happens to you is, why do you become afraid? If you haven't been arrested a few times before, like a lot of auditors who are going to watch this, if you haven't been arrested a few times, then when you go through the legal procedure, you become very afraid. Because why? Because you don't know what the due process of the law is regarding what the circumstances you are going through is, right? If you don't know what the due process is for you and your process that you're about to go through, whether that be for a defamation case, a criminal case, a property law case, a contract law case, it doesn't matter what, a lemon law case for your car, right? If you don't understand due process of the law for your specific venue, you're going to go through all kinds of anxiety and angst. It's going to drive you up the fucking wall, brother, especially if it's criminal. If you don't know due process of the law in a criminal case, what you'll do is you'll hire a lawyer. No, I'm so sorry that the lawyer profession is such dog shit. And you guys have seen me bring lawyers onto my live and just take them to pieces. Because when it comes to con law, constitutional law, that's my area of expertise. That's where I know the law probably better than almost anybody you'll actually talk to. And if they know more than me, Ali Baba, you know more than me, I want to learn from you. And by the way, you can always take case law in any different division of law, and you can take that case law, and if you can persuade the judge to believe take Bryn versus Dean that I talked about earlier, the 1937 case that talks about a right-thinking person. Now, the people who are going to have to defend themselves against my lawsuit, if they take Bryn versus Dean and they say, hey, Talib the dweeb is not a right-thinking person. He is not an authority on racism. Good luck. But if they're able to convince the judge that Bryn versus Dean does not apply to Talib the dweeb, well, then, they might have a chance of taking my case apart. But that's only one case law, and I've got like 7 case laws for Talib the dweeb, right? So this is, and back to you, the auditor, back to you, the person who may face a due process of the law because of the court system, because someone sues you, because you get arrested, because of a multitude of reasons. I implore you, start to learn especially if you're an auditor. If you are an auditor, if you don't know the 1987 case of Houston, if you don't know the 1987 case of Houston versus Hill, and you are an auditor, I highly suggest that you learn it. And then I recommend that you look up the statutes and the codes that were created in your city, your state, your borough, your district, your municipality, so that you understand due process of the law. Because remember, when I started this 6 weeks ago and I was defamed, I didn't know due process of the law in defamation tort law in the federal court system. I didn't know what it was. And so because of that, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but there was a couple times that I went on live that my eyes were swelled shut from crying because I was so broken. That these people who I didn't do this to help black people, or I didn't do this to help minority people. As you guys know, I learned constitutional law, because I was no-knock rated. That's why I learned it. I didn't learn it to be the great white hope. Selfishly, I learned it because after I was no-knock rated, that went back to a 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates. It's going to be a fucking mess because I don't have my setup here. Forgive me. So when I researched exactly how the police could no-knock raid my house, and it went back to the 1983 case from a confidential informant, and then it went to the 1995 case of Wilson versus Arkansas, and the Wilson versus Arkansas goes back to Kerr versus California of 1963, and 1963 goes back to 1949, Brinegar versus United States. As soon as I became an expert in understanding constitutional law and due process of the law, I never feared cops again. Never. I'm still not afraid of those guys. Not even close. You guys are a bunch of clowns. Literally. You signed up because you have no skills. You can't do anything else with your life. And if you do want to do that as an occupation, may you burn in hell. Really. May you burn in hell. I have no respect for you. I'm just being honest. Oh, you can't take it? Sorry. Hit the road, Jack. I'm not sure if you know or not, just so you know, I have screenshots. I have death threats after death threat after death threat. And then it's so funny. These people are cowards. I got death threats yesterday. People, I write them back. Do you want my address? I think you're a coward, brother. I think you're a coward. You're sitting behind a keyboard saying, I'm going to kill you. Are you? So if you're an auditor and you don't know the 1987 case of Houston versus Hill, well, that Houston versus Hill, you may think that happened in Texas, but remember what I started off with, stare decisis, or jurisprudence. Houston versus Hill, the 1987 case, whether there's an ordinance or a statute in your hometown that limits your First Amendment right or not, Houston versus Hill still attaches to you as an auditor. You still have the same due process of the law that every other American has. You cannot be hemmed up for filming the police. And I recommend that if the police are going to arrest you for filming them, let them and sue them. And if you don't know how to file a lawsuit against them, then just give me a call. And I will walk you through the exact due process of the law where you can sue the police. And in my opinion, we need to sue the federal government hundreds of millions of times to get our rights back. And not class action lawsuits, individual lawsuits. Individual lawsuits. Okay? So I have, my eyes are bad. I can't read a lot of the small print, so please forgive me. Someone said expand, please. So let me see. Right, you always film the police. And just so you guys know, I don't care if your phone is even on. If your phone, like I've passed cops before where the battery on my phone is dead. And when I pass by cops, I point my phone at them as though I'm filming them, even when I'm not, because my phone is dead. And I've done that 50 times, at least 50 times. I've passed by cops, held up my phone as though I'm filming them, even when I'm not, because I'm on a phone call or I'm in the middle of texting someone and I can't turn on my camera, and I pass them by, and as I pass them by in my car, I show them. Do you know what I really do a lot? I really do it a lot. When I pass cops who are hiding on the side of the road, I slow down and point my camera at them, and I look right at them and I give them one of those. Yeah, you know why? Because I understand due process of the law. You can't pull me over. You can't pull me over for no reason unless you're going to use Wren versus the United States, the 1996 case that creates pretextual stops. And if you're going to pull me over because, and especially if they tell you that they pulled you over because you were filming them, and they're going to use a Wren stop, which is what they use for Sandra Bland, then if you can get them to admit that they pulled you over because you were filming them, that's a blatant violation of your First Amendment right. You can now sue that police department. And you should. And you absolutely should. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, it took me a minute to get going here because there's just so much. I mean, like, just so you know, like, do you think maybe there's a little bit of information that I need to cover about tort law with you guys, right? There's a lot of information about tort law, especially when it comes to defamation. Now, defamation is going to break down into two different, and just so you know, if this happens to you, so let me explain defamation and slander to you now that I don't know, I would say I'm a self-proclaimed, I don't want to say the word scholar because I've only been studying tort law for 6 weeks. So I think it would be extraordinarily arrogant to say that I'm a scholar on tort law when clearly there's going to be a lot of people who know more information than I do. But what I would say is that I'm now well-versed. I guess that's the best way to put it. I'm now well-versed on tort law so that I understand. And then this goes into the first step, and then the second step, and then the third step. So let me explain to you exactly what defamation and slander is so that you truly understand. When someone says you slandered me, right? Be very careful. Be very careful. Number one, let me just get into it so that you guys can use your own brain to tell me what you think, okay? So defamation is when someone says something about you out loud, or, and that's going to be slander, or so I'm going to pull this in tight here for you guys. So, and I'm just going to put defame here. So when someone defames you, defamation is defaming you. They are the defamer, right? Here's what they do. They either slander you, and slander is when someone has said something about you that is patently false. Now, there's 4 different types or sections of slander, but what the slander that I'm talking about is when someone creates false information about you, or essentially a lie. So let me give you a good example here. Now, libel, Cobra, thanks for popping in. Libel is when someone writes something down about you. They write it down, and then, so now here's the important parts that you have to understand. And this is what so many of these morons on TikTok, they keep chiming in. You don't have a case. Okay, guys, we're going to find out in federal district court, aren't we? So what? Now, here's how you define these. So let's take the defamer. Let's take the person who has defamed you. This person here, okay? Now, what's really cool about understanding this is you can just put yourself right here. Okay, so there you are, and there's the defamation, the defamer, all right? And so here's what happens. The defamer, let's call slander a person, and let's call libel a person, just so that, I mean, just for easy understanding and easy comprehension of what exactly defamation is, so you understand it. Okay. Now, when the defamer says something about you or writes something down about you, and then this third party, because we're calling slander a person, we're calling libel a person, this third party comes to you and repeats the information, that the defamer said about you, that is what slander is. When someone writes something down about you, and libel is a person now, just for fun here, and that libel, this third party right here, they've read the information about you, and then they come to you and they say, hey, I heard this about you. And they repeat what they read or what they heard. That is what defamation is. That's defamation. So a very simple one would be, I'll use my friend T. Roy who's in here. I say, T. Roy is a pedophile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, what are the key elements for that to be true? For that to be defamation? The key elements are this. If this person who I said that, and T. Roy, I'm just using you as an example. God bless you, I'm sorry. Oh, here comes someone, Harris County Audits. Anytime, brother, I'll meet you on a Zoom call. Anytime you want to have a conversation, just drop your email address down in the comment section, Harris County, and let's jump on a Zoom call where it's just me and you. I'll flip an egg timer over and we'll see who knows and who doesn't, okay? Okay? Okay, brother? Because I don't take shit from trolls. Sorry, bro. Anytime you want to jump on a Zoom call, anytime you want, brother, I will tear your ass apart when it comes to the law. So, now, here's the key element to understanding if someone has defamed you. If I say T. Roy is a pedophile, which he's not, he's a very good friend of mine. Well, don't talk shit to me, brother. I'm not one of those guys you talk shit to. I'm not that guy. So if I say T. Roy is this, and I don't even want to repeat it because he's not. He's been a supporter since June, since I started the channel. If slander or libel, we've given their, let's just call them Sam and Larry. So Sam is slander and Larry is libel. Now, if someone defames you in writing, and I say this person is this thing, and then Sam or Larry is a right-thinking person. In other words, they're an upstanding member of the community of which you exist in. Then, if I say T. Roy is this, and I am Sam, and then that third party brings it to T. Roy and says, hey, this person said this is what you are, and Sam is within my social circle or within my scope of practice, that's defamation. If a right-thinking person would believe the information, well, then that's slander. If I write it down and a right-thinking person comes to me and repeats that information, and that's a right-thinking person means that you're not a felon, you're not mentally ill, you're within the sphere or scope of practice of which I exist in, or within the social circle which I exist in, right? Then that is the legal definition of slander or libel. Now, there's a couple other things here, right? Because what these folks have done is they've hit every single metric. Talib, I'm going to get you kicked off social media, brother. I'm going to ask the judge to ban you from social media because he's going to see this. They all see it. They see everything I do. They copy. They follow me around everywhere, okay? I'm going to get that guy kicked off social media forever. All social media. So, now, what else matters here? What else is important? So we know what slander is. We know what libel is. One is spoken, one is written. Then if a third party who is a right-thinking person comes to you and repeats the slander or libel, that's another factor to add in that hits the metric so that you have a defamation case. Now, there's another metric here. And that is the metric that if the defamer considers themselves or has been qualified as an authority in your scope of practice. The example that they'll use in law books, is they'll say, within the architecture circle, the defamer said that Sam, or said that you, because we're going to use Sam as a third party person, the defamer said that you cannot read in Latin. Now, to you and I, if someone says, hey, Chili can't read Latin, well, you know what? I can't read Latin. However, within the sphere or scope of practice in which the defamer and you exist, if speaking Latin would then defame your character or your profession, and other right-thinking people like Sam or Larry would then come to you and are within your scope, and they would say, oh, the defamer said that you don't speak Latin and you're an architecture. You're an architect. That then defames your character. Now, Lethal Lex, who made a video series called White Ally Training, who's the president of the BLM chapter in Utah, she made a 15-part series that is just laughable. But what that does, what it does is it makes her an authority in racism. And hundreds of thousands of people would listen to her. That's one of the metrics. She has to be an authority or someone who third parties would take seriously and believe what she says. And then every time someone comes to my page and calls me a racist, I say, where'd you hear that? And they say, I heard it from Lethal Lex. Alexis Scott, who got ran out of Utah by the governor of Utah because she was militant. She makes these videos where she says she carries a gun and she's not afraid to use a gun. Well, the governor of Utah hated that. He hated that. So I can't get too much into her story because I can't speak on her unless it's factual, okay? Which brings us to the fourth metric of defamation. The fourth metric of defamation, right? And the fourth metric of defamation is going to be this. If it's true. If it's true. If it's true. Now, I can only speak on my case. I can't speak on your case if you've been defamed, if you've been slandered, you've been libeled, right? But the problem that these folks have, from Jolly Ginger to Lethal Lex to Talib the Dweeb, all of them, is we had a pre-existing relationship over here through phone calls and text messages, talking about what? How to battle racism. Jolly, you're so fucked. You have no idea, brother. Jolly and I have a dozen phone calls and text messages back and forth talking about what? How to battle racism. So, calling me a racist, considering that my website opens up and says the history of institutional racism taught on a timeline, and we have dozens of phone calls and text messages where the defamer recognizes that I'm battling racism and then creates slander and libel saying that I speak 1906, Anthony Highland. We have an hour and a half phone call that I recorded where we talk about what? Battling institutional racism. So both I Speak and Jolly, there's a long, long history of conversations talking about battling racism. You see? Those are your four metrics of defamation. Those are your four metrics. Number one, if a third party comes to you and says it. Number two, if a right-thinking person would believe the defamer. Number three, if the person is an authority. And number four, if it's true or not true, and you can prove that the defamer knew this wasn't true. They knew it wasn't. And what that's called specifically, that specific metric, when you hit all four metrics of defamation, that's called defamation per se, or defamation with malice. Meaning, according to the federal court system, defamation with malice is assumed damages. Assumed. So what does assumed damages mean? So that means when I sue Talib for $10 million, when I sue I Speak for $2 million, Jolly for $2 million, Alexis Scott for $2 million. Oh, you know the other one? Good Trouble, who I still can't find his information, but when we bring the private detective in, we're gonna find his information. Okay? Good Trouble, what Good Trouble did wrong, just so you know, went to prove defamation. He's the defamer. He then created slander, saying that, but here's what he did when he committed slander, just so you know. Here's what he did. He first qualified. These people are just so stupid when it comes to understanding the law. What Good Trouble did when he made his video about me defaming me is he first listed out all the things I've done to fight racism. brother, you're not very bright when it comes to the law, are you? Right? So when you list out how someone is not what you're claiming them to be, and then you say, I don't really know what happened, but this guy's a motherfucking racist, brother, that is the definition of slander. And then you know what I did? And everybody couldn't understand why I did it. After I understood the defamation laws, I then went to his page. I made a video about him. I put it on my YouTube page. And then I went to his page and I dropped a bunch of comments. And what happened? What happened when I did that? Larry and Sam all came to me and said, you're a racist. You've been exposed. And I asked them, where'd you hear this? And they said, Good Trouble exposed you. Cha-ching, boys. Cha-ching. Get your wallets ready. Get your wallets. Get your wallets. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I'm actually down in San Diego. I don't have my setup here. I'm down in San Diego. I'm actually helping a guy study for the California State Bar exam. Just so you know, look, unfortunately in today's world, you always have to qualify yourself. You always have to, social media in particular, I think, I'm still a hard-nosed, hard-charging, I still have a big ego, and that's both good and bad. However, a lot of my ego over the years, as I passed 40 years old, it all kind of just subsided. I'm not so egotistical. I still want to cage fight people because I love to cage fight, but that is in a sanctioned legal arena where people sign a waiver, right? And I could get my ass kicked, so I don't think I'm invincible over here. But so now, unfortunately, you always have to qualify yourself in today's world. So just so you know, I got a phone call from a guy, and he said, "Hey, will you help me study for the California State Bar con law?" And I said, sure. I sat down with the guy, and after about 5 minutes, you know what I found out? Wow, I really know a lot. I really know a lot. To be honest with you, I am a dumb jock, stoner. Like I used to be a stoner. I don't smoke weed anymore. I quit smoking weed. But I'm not a genius. I am not brilliant by any means. At all whatsoever. Not even close. I'm not super smart. I'm not. I am, though, after sitting down with someone who'd taken the bar 4 times and failed it. I'm with someone who's failed the bar 4 times. I am an expert in con law, constitutional law. I am an expert beyond the pale. I'm an expert in con law to levels that I didn't even know that I was. Because as soon as we started to go over, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that's studying for the state bar exam, con law. When the speaker on the con law started to talk, I could then pause it and go, oh, well, that has to do with the 1919 case of Cynic, and that has to do with the 1937 case, and that has to do with this case. And it's dazzling to me, to be honest. It is absolutely dazzling to me, to be honest, that I've been able to learn this much information. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have a brain that's able to absorb and hold information. And I'll tell you all the time, I got a great memory. That doesn't mean you're a genius. That doesn't mean you're a genius. That doesn't mean you're a genius at all. So just recap, and then I'll get off. I do appreciate you guys' time. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this video, because obviously I can't go on TikTok anymore. When I go on TikTok, my lives are reported immediately. If you guys haven't gone by my online store, Delete Laws, it's Delete Laws with a Z. You guys go by my online store, pick up my ebook or my poster. I'd really appreciate it. These guys cut my funding so big time. I do have a Kickstarter campaign coming out for the defamation suit. I'm making a documentary about suing them. It's called brandedaracist.com. It's called brandedaracist.com. The video is already done. You can see the video. I think brandedaracist.com is up, and you can watch the video that I made on brandedaracist.com. You guys, the video's up. Now, the campaign is incorrect because the web guy who put it together, he just threw some numbers up there and threw some stuff up there. I'm raising $100,000. The minimum donation is going to be $100, so I don't expect anybody to necessarily jump in if you don't have that kind of money. But the minimum donation is going to be $100, and then it's $500, then $1,000, then $5,000, and then $10,000. And I'm actually going through I'm not going to say anything else, but I have an email list of people who I'm going through, and that will be emailed out. But you guys can see the campaign that started. You can see the video. It's on brandedaracist.com right now. You can go look at it right now. I'm pretty sure it's up. I'm pretty sure it's up and it's live. That is not the campaign. The campaign, the numbers are going to change. The donation amounts are going to change. I'm targeting a specific list of very well-off people who are sick and tired of being branded a racist. If you've been branded a racist, it's just the worst thing ever for you. Now what I'm seeing now is there was a woman in the mall the other day, and she went to go sit down with her 3 children, and they didn't let her sit down at the mall because she doesn't have her vaccination card. And they called her a Karen. I thought a Karen was someone who called the cops on a black person. I thought that's what a Karen was. I thought a Karen, now correct me if I'm wrong, a Karen was somebody who called the cops on a black person just because they were scared of someone who was black. I thought that's what a Karen was. Am I incorrect? But now I saw the other day on Reddit, they said they called this woman a Karen because she didn't want to, she didn't have her card. I don't know how to turn on Super Chat. I don't think I have enough subscribers to turn on Super Chat. But you guys, listen, you can go to my website, Delete Laws. It is a secured site. If you guys want to buy a poster or an ebook, I really appreciate it. They have hit me in the pocketbook. I'm being honest here. If they wanted to beat me, they did. They did. They have beat me. If I didn't have lifetime friends, oh, I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. But anyway, if you want to go by there and take a look at my ebook or my digital poster, I also have hard copy posters, a $99 version, and I have a $135 version that are absolutely awesome. If you guys want to support in any way, that's the best way, because the brandedaracist.com is going out to a list of very well-off supporters, very well-off individuals who are on the right and the left, who are sick and tired of being called a racist. They called that woman a Karen because she didn't have her card that shows that she got the government mandated mandated, not mandated thing, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to go over the basic understanding because I know that I've been gone. I know that I haven't been here. I know that I haven't been here, and so I just wanted to check in with people who do support me and people who do believe in the mission of getting back to a constitutional standard, getting back to a level of at least basic probable cause decency, where you cannot be arrested because one man is suspicious of you, who's got a clown suit on wearing a badge, right? And that's what I wanted to get to. And I just came back here with you guys because I want you guys to know I'm not going anywhere. I'm suing these fools. And I wanted to show you guys the exact case and the 4 basic understandings of tort law and defamation so that you guys could truly understand. And I do actually have to reach out for more support. And my buddy just got back, who we've been working on the California State Bar together, and he's got a friend with him, so I'm going to jump off here. I didn't understand. That was emotional for a moment there for me. One of my best friends who I've known since 2nd grade the other day, she chimed in and she called me, and it was just, anyway. I do better in the fist fight. I do better in the fist fight than I do with the empathy. So deletelaws.com with a Z, deletelaws.com with a Z, if you guys can read that. Listen, thank you guys so much for your support. Stand by me, stand by. What does it say? Stand back and stand by. What does he say? We're not going anywhere. And it's my life's mission to overturn Terry. And I guarantee you, the day that Terry comes, I will be sitting there when that law is taken off of our books. I give you my word. T-Roy, thank you for your support, brother. Thank you for never abandoning me when there was all this hatred against me. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Anyway, I got to get off here. I do appreciate your time. No, don't come on. It doesn't make sense. But listen, I'll let you guys go. Delete Laws with the Z. Thanks a lot. God bless you guys. God bless the United States of America. Stay strong and never let anybody push you around. If you don't know due process of law, feel free to send me a DM on my Instagram. As you know, BLM hacked my Instagram account and it was taken down. So now I have just Delete Laws Instagram. So thanks for your support. Thanks for your support. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love and support. Thank you so much. I'll get out of here, all right? You guys have a good night. Okay, take care.